Hey there, welcome to episode 171 of the Let's Innovate for Vegas audio program. I'm your host, Managing Director of the Innovate for Vegas Foundation, Dan Hugo. We are recording this at 1:17 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, for as long as there is a daylight time here in the greater Vegas area, on Tuesday, May 26, 2026. It's like two 26s. It's crazy, like 52. Deck of cards here in Vegas. The episodes of Let's Innovate for Vegas, the new ones, are usually published on Tuesday mornings, sometimes in the afternoon. But Tuesday is the big day, so here we are. Today's title and topic, Testing a LinkedIn Newsletter. How very exciting. If you're not familiar with the Innovate for Vegas Foundation, or perhaps the Let's Innovate for Vegas audio program, well, let me tell you. We are a Nevada nonprofit corporation, a 501c3 public charity. I'm going to restate our purpose at the end of this episode, so I'll save it for then. But we are all about community elevation, about innovation, ideation and innovation, job skills development perhaps, the joy of learning from others, and so on. We are not a coding school. In fact, we are not focused on coding in particular. Now, we used to be called the Code for Vegas Brigade of sorts when the Code for America organization had their brigade network. That program has been sunset. When we rebooted Code for Vegas, we rebooted as the Code for Vegas Foundation as an independent, standalone 501c3 public charity. So when the brigade actually shut down, it did not impact us, but we did find that people were reading what was on the tin, Code for Vegas, and literally, I'm not a coder, so can I not participate? That was back when people were interested in participating, by the way. Looking to get back to those times, those interesting times. So renaming to Innovate for Vegas is more in line with the branding of the greater Vegas area as a global innovation hub with at least one innovation district, maybe another one coming along sometime. The innovation district, the innovation centers, which have been blessed with some magical powers enabling innovation in the greater Vegas area, and a general notion that this is a place for innovation to take place. So let's see if Innovate for Vegas can be a part of that as we hopefully emerge from the civic volunteer winter. As a civic volunteer organization, everyone, myself included, is volunteer. There's no compensation. There's no benefits package. The salaries are awful, but the outcomes could be interesting. The road is long, and with one person presently driving down that road, it seems to be getting longer. The Let's Innovate for Vegas audio program is exactly what it sounds like. We haven't had guests on in a very long time. We'll have to get back into that as we move through the summer, ideally escaping that winter I referred to. We talk about our initiatives, our challenges, some of the, challenge with a small c. We also talk about the upcoming unconference events, the City Camp Las Vegas 2026 event, and then the series of events that will comprise the Smarter Smart City Challenge for beginning in January of 2027. It will last all year. Both of these events are open to anyone of any age, any interest, any goal, whatever thing you want to innovate around. Let's do it. So on that note, hopefully wherever you found this audio program, you're able to locate the episode description, which contains the show notes, including a brief, a little bit longer than normal, but still brief summary, which I'll read to you. We have two of our normal links, links to our home pages. Pages? Multiple? Hang on, we'll get there. And then I've actually linked explicitly to the LinkedIn pages in question, since we are talking today about how ineffective they are and why we are trying out the LinkedIn newsletter approach probably through the summer, and then we'll see what happens. So here we go. Let's get started on this lovely Tuesday afternoon. Summary of today's episode. LinkedIn is not a good platform. We've covered this previously more than once, but we are going to give it one last try before our unconference events coming up in September 2026 and January of 2027, wherein we will find out if follow and forget is also follow and ignore. The links, as usual, are homepages. We have two. Both are Innovate for Vegas, Innovate FOR Vegas. So just like it's spelled, no spaces, Innovate for Vegas. .org is where our activity is centered. Both of these are hosted, by the way, on GitHub. So they're mostly for information purposes. InnovateForVegas.org is where our initiative repositories are found. If you actually visit the GitHub site, which is linked, of course, as our initiatives begin to unfold in a more visible way or a more publishable way, that's a better term. We'll fill in some of the web-facing stuff. The repositories are there if you want to visit the GitHub interface. But web sections, I guess, sections of the website, not web sections, sections of our website will focus on individual initiatives and contributors and so on. So we use GitHub for basically highlighting, pointing to, recognizing, even celebrating a little bit, the people who contribute their civic volunteer time, effort, and expertise to what we're attempting to accomplish. The list is very short lately. Hopefully we'll change that over the summer and beyond. The Innovate for Vegas Foundation version of our homepage is about the business. I mentioned we're a Nevada nonprofit corporation. We have a board of directors with some empty chairs. We have bylaws. We have finances. We file a 990 tax return every year. We file our annual list update, which will be due on June 30th, by the way. So if we can add some more board members, that will be just in time. We've only had one board member through this year. We've been, again, the Civic Volunteer Winter has been a time for rest and taking a look at some possibilities for the next upcoming year. Our fiscal years begin on July 1st, but then also the calendar year, of course, begins on January 1st, I suppose, this year or next year. But yeah, setting up the all-year challenge will be interesting and certainly something that our future board members could be involved with if they like. But as an unconference structured pair of events, the City Camp and the City Camp is not our idea. That's actually a thing that was co-founded by one of the original founders of Code for America. And now it happens, City Camp happens in various places around the world. And we're aiming for September, since that's when I believe it's called World City Camp Day is typically sometime in the second half of September. So we'll see if we can get some extra attention from aligning with the schedule of that recognizable calendar entry. So yeah, innovateforvegas.org for the sort of public-facing fun stuff, the activities, the community elevation we're aiming for through our initiatives and so on, and the people enabling it, making that happen. And then the Innovate for Vegas Foundation for the business side. Two sides of the same poker chip, I like to say. And then we have two pages on LinkedIn. So I've linked to them directly. They're also linked from our homepages and from the Smart City Vegas homepage. However, we're not focusing on websites at the moment. We're focusing on LinkedIn and LinkedIn pages. So Innovate for Vegas Foundation has its own page, and then the more recently launched Smart City Vegas LinkedIn page, because the event, the Smarter Smart City Challenge being all year, it made sense to have a separate sort of focused information resource on LinkedIn so that people could follow it specifically and so on. I should point out that Innovate for Vegas Foundation initiatives are intended to be like long life cycle projects. They could be software, they could be hardware, they could be mechanical, they could be just about anything you can imagine, anything that is innovation. Innovation takes many forms. Whereas the Smarter Smart City Challenge is basically could be a one and done sort of, hey, I want to solve this problem. Here's how I'm going to approach it and come up with something and see how it goes. And at the end of the year, you're done. You could do it again if we do a second year, or you can be done and done, one and done, maybe. So, and then the city camp is literally a hackathon style weekend. I don't know if it would be an actual hackathon style, but it's intended to be a very short duration, focused, smaller gathering probably. So a separate page. So yeah, you can check those out. If you're not following already, you can follow them if you like. If you have a LinkedIn account, if you don't have a LinkedIn account, it's not really worth your time. We will continue to talk about websites, getting information out, and so on in future episodes, and we have discussed that in past episodes. Today we're looking at LinkedIn. Pardon me, I'm pausing every once in a while and kind of coughing a little bit. I don't know. I have my water, so I'm sipping water between takes. Fingers crossed. So yeah, check out our LinkedIn pages if you care to. If you are following the LinkedIn pages, I believe you will get a notification when we launch our first edition of the weekly. It will be a weekly newsletter for both. It'll be 2 newsletters, one for each, and they should publish on Wednesday and Thursday. So Wednesday, tomorrow, as I'm recording this, we'll publish the Innovate for Vegas newsletter, and then Thursday we'll publish the Smart City Vegas, Smarter Smart City Challenge and City Camp topics for the Smart City Vegas newsletter. Why on Thursday? Because our meetings, our online meetups, are presently the first Wednesday of each month, but ideally we will accelerate that with City Camp coming up in September now. So assuming we still have the meetings on Wednesdays, we'll have a newsletter that goes out on Thursdays for those 2 unconference events, undertakings. I don't like to call Smarter Smart City Challenge an event because it is all year and it will have multiple events, and then people participating can operate on their own schedule anyway, which is why we have it going all year. So you won't miss out on a weekend or a particular calendar entry. It's whenever you want to. So hopefully we'll be able to draw in more participation because of that flexibility. So we'll find out. So let's start out with a little LinkedIn recap. We have better and more interesting things to talk about, of course, especially in more recent episodes. So if you have missed a detailed rundown of why LinkedIn is not good for our organization, or maybe Greater Vegas, certainly for our org here in Greater Vegas and on LinkedIn. So for us in particular, not great. So the idea of coming up with better ways to engage Greater Vegas with our civic volunteer efforts and initiatives is high on the list. Obviously, we have our own website, but in this day and age, you must be on a social media platform to be found. That's unfortunate. That's one of the list items to address as well for us here in our Smarter Smart City. The problem appears to be a combination of the LinkedIn algorithm, which really favors frequent posting, follower accounts, and increasing them, and other behavior signals based on, and this is based on what I've read recently, especially because apparently they're changing the algorithm to move more towards preference of more authentic content, definitely, or apparently trying to minimize the any AI, generative AI content and so on. So trying to keep it real, I suppose, maybe, who knows? Microsoft owns LinkedIn, so you can never be too sure. That maybe if you use Copilot, you'll get more traffic. And the nature of our followers, who I would suggest fall into the follow and forget category. Thus, we use the LinkedIn pages we do maintain as a sort of introduction. So if you follow our page, or pages now, you at least know we exist. Whether you remember that is another question. But we do have 980, I think it's 983 today, followers of our Innovate for Vegas page. And I think it's 190 something on the Smart City Vegas page. So that we've had our Innovate for Vegas Foundation page since we started, so 4 years. We have maybe 20 views, impressions on our posts, if that, according to what LinkedIn tells us, I guess, us, if it's me and the mouse in my pocket. So sometimes it's 10, sometimes it's 4, who knows? It's certainly not 980 impressions, but that's how the world works. We are lucky if we get 1 or 2 reactions, somebody might like or celebrate or whatever. We never get any reshares. We never get any comments. Well, not never, but mostly statistically never. And even when we tag people like educators or members of the local news media to try to get them to respond to posts that are completely relevant to those two professions, we get silence, crickets, and not much more. So it's not great. LinkedIn is not great for us. LinkedIn is something of a silo in that external viewers may or may not find our posts, or much else about our organization if they are not already signed up with a LinkedIn account. This can vary. I don't know exactly what the rules are, but if you try to view content on LinkedIn and you're not signed in or signed up at least, you may be met with a login page or a sign up page. I don't know. So it can vary, but LinkedIn really wants page viewers or viewers of anything on their site to be logged in or to sign up if they do not already have a LinkedIn account. And with all of this forgetting going on, it is unlikely that we will get any additional reach from resharing people who know about our organization to invite others to follow and so on. So it is what it is. The walled garden either does not work well for Greater Vegas or it fits perfectly, a matter of perspective. So we have some things coming up. I may have mentioned this. We have reached out to local news media and to our local educators, as I mentioned, with regard to the Smarter Smart City Challenge. This was back in March, to get the word out, possibly invite early participation in the unconference pre-planning or meta-planning aspects. The unconference structure is basically to enable people participating to actually plan, coordinate. When I say pre-planning, I mean like finding a venue. That's not something that you can do day of. But the structure of the actual city camp itself, the 2 or 3 days that I anticipate it will take place over, how that's organized will be up to the people participating. The Smarter Smart City Challenge will be even easier to adapt to that model since we'll have a full year of potential to take advantage of with however many participate. By the way, it's not going to be 10 people. If it's 10 people, event will be canceled. So the Smarter Smart City Challenge, the reserve to commit to the January date to start will be something like 150 people. And we'd really like to see something like 1,500 people participating. And I think in a Greater Vegas population of about 2.4 million, Clark County, 1,500 people is approximately 0%. So that's not a big swing at all, to be honest. But yeah, when we reached out to our educators and local news media, we were only planning the Smarter Smart City Challenge. And we didn't really get any interest. So that's troubling. We really want to engage students. In the case of the Smarter Smart City Challenge, actually both. But we do want to engage students, which means engaging teachers, educators, and mentors, perhaps, since we will not engage minors. This is a matter of community safety. We do not want to reach out to or engage minors without their pre-knowledge of our organization. Not everybody knows what City Camp is. Certainly, nobody will know what the Smarter Smart City Challenge is. So, we don't want to solicit. We don't want cold calling. We don't want to. We just want to keep everything completely safe and above board and all that. So we intend to work with educators and mentors, and then they can engage their students and the young people that they work with. This is not like forever. This is how we hope to include people of all ages, is to make sure that they are engaging with people that they know, that they're familiar with, and so on. And then we can engage with adults, parents, teachers, parents and guardians, so that they can make that connection first. The children are our future. Let's make sure they can do it safely. As I mentioned, we get very little engagement on LinkedIn, and we received 0 response on our outreach to these two groups, the educators and local news media, about the year-long challenge upcoming. So we'll expect similar silence with regard to the City Camp event. By the way, you'll note that I did not link to the citycamp.com website. That will be in the newsletter. We originally aimed to hold the challenge during the remainder of 2026, of the 2026 calendar year. I wrote years. Silly. That would have started in March for early adoption to do the sort of meta planning. And I was hoping that early adopters would be the people that would actually take on the responsibility of planning the event. Since it would be all year, it would be kind of bootstrapping getting it started. And then as people participated through the year, there would be more meta planning, more unconference. Right? However, it seemed to make more sense, just because it was so difficult to get the word out, to defer the Smarter Smart City Challenge into January of 2027, as we've covered in a previous episode. So we get the full year and we have more time to try to get the word out. The hill is steep and high. Now we have added City Camp Las Vegas 2026 to the agenda, which is also an unconference structured event. We still need to locate some interest in participating in the pre-planning and the actual City Camp event, of course. City Camp is more like a hackathon style event. Basically the exact nature of what it will be is determined by the people participating. But I'm referring to it as a hackathon because the Smarter Smart City Challenge is not a hackathon. It's a year-long series of events. There could be a hackathon in the Smarter Smart City Challenge calendar. In fact, I would envision 2 or 3, but that is to be determined. But yeah, City Camp, probably 2 or 3 days, depending on how we can situate ourselves in a venue or however we let that unfold. While the challenge is, again, multiple events of different types over an entire year, but there are some overlapping conversations to have. So we really hope to come across some interested parties between now and when City Camp Las Vegas 2026 takes place. That'll be the first one, hopefully, of an annual undertaking. As has been the case for more than 2 years, maybe closer to 3, we have weekly office hour meetups online, open to anyone to talk about any aspect of our organization, about civic volunteerism, about our nonprofit, and forming a 501c3 public charity entity, which others may want to do in the post-Code for America Brigade era in which we find ourselves. Pretty much anything. We can talk about anything you want. We do try to keep the technical conversations to a separate meetup on a different day. Usually it was Mondays. So that we are not creating a split environment where people at one meeting end up in a room of, an online discussion room. You have some people talking about the actual initiatives, maybe from a technical standpoint, and other people that wanted to talk about how a nonprofit pursues civic volunteer efforts aimed at community elevation. So we just have separate days. If you are interested in the actual initiatives and maybe rolling up your sleeves and seeing what's going on and how you might be a part, different meetup. And similarly, we have a separate online meetup for discussing the Smarter Smart City plans for the challenge, and now adding City Camp. So we are basically augmenting the challenge plans with the City Camp plans, and then however they overlap and so on, and all the discussions around that, so we can leverage commonalities. And surely we will learn something from the City Camp for its first event that we can apply to at least the beginning of the Smarter Smart City Challenge, 3 months later, 3 months-ish, depending on when City Camp actually takes place. I will point out that today, Tuesday, would have been our office hours meetup. We have a 5-hour lead time. It used to be 1 hour. It used to be no hours. So every week there'd be an open meeting. Anyone could join in online, and then no one would be joining in online. So that was sort of a bit of a time sink. So in order to make maximal use of all time of everyone involved or not involved, we had an RSVP. We set up a Luma calendar. I'm not a huge fan of Luma, but it kind of works. It works well enough for now to try out the RSVP scheme for our office hours, and then by extension the Smarter Smart City Challenge, and now add on City Camp. What do I call it? Is it the pre-planning chat? I can't remember what I named it, but now it'll have to be more sort of pointed because September fast approaches. So we are meta planning, we are pre-planning for an unconference coming up in September, and then another series of unconference events coming up in January. Hopefully people will show up. So nobody RSVP'd for today's event. So as long as the events are at 6 p.m. for our office hours, 6 p.m. on Tuesdays has been the date and time for at least the last 2 years. If nobody wants to RSVP, then we'll cancel it and we'll have another one next week. So every week, Tuesdays. So today's was canceled because there were no RSVPs. So by 1 p.m., that's enough time to get at least one person. If we do get one person RSVP and then someone else wants to drop in during the meetup, that's totally fine. But there has to be at least one person to be interested. And that is more challenging than you would imagine. Oh, by the way, we do have 2 open board director seats, at least 2. I personally would like to see the board be about 5 people. So a quick recap on this front. We have gone all this fiscal year with empty seats at our board of directors, on our board of directors. Just about 1 year ago, it was actually 1 year ago in 2 days, as this episode is published. So it's published on Tuesday, so it would have been Thursday, 1 year ago. 2 of our 3 directors, I'm the third one, by the way, departed this organization to pursue some educational projects in a nonprofit organization that they formed based in the Sacramento area in California. And given the short notice and our civic volunteer winter, as I've described in previous episodes, this was a good year to dial it back a bit and reach out to people now and then to consider joining in, participating, etc. So yeah, 1 month notice seems like a lot, but that's where we are now too. And it's, I'm kind of hoping we don't go another year without. Why a whole year? No particular reason, but it seemed like a nice time to take a little break. The clock is just about to run out as we come upon another annual list filing on June 30th, if that's a weekend, whatever day it actually is. So we have to file our annual list, including the names of those in governance of our organization with the Nevada Secretary of State. And so I'm hoping to be able to include 2 other names, maybe 3, 4 other names. That'd be nice. One of the things I definitely learned by having 2/3 of our board of directors out of state, and by the way, we've only had me as the local board member thus far. Our first and second years, we had one of our board members was actually the co-founder and original, co-captain of the original Code for Vegas. So even though he was remote, he was a little bit more engaged because he was kind of handing off, helping us get the organization back up and running, and then handing it off and so on. So we'll call that a special case. But in general, if we have people that are not local with no local interest, then we really don't have sort of a personal investment, skin in the game, sort of. Not that our directors on our board are not expected to participate in projects per se. They're invited, but they're not intended to be like mentors of actual participants. On the business side of our organization has its own website for a reason, because that is the operation, the governance of our organization, its fundraising efforts, for example, bylaws and so on. So sitting on the board of directors is about participating in the governance of the business and direction of our long-term, hopefully fruitful efforts at community elevation over the long term. So it's like a different thing. But of course, anybody who's on our board of directors would be invited to participate in actual initiatives and meetups and hackathons, whatever else. But they are 2 separate sides of the same coin, or poker chip, as I like to say. It'd be nice, it would be ideal, I think, if we had at least one other board member who was local to the greater Vegas area for the purposes of engagement and outreach and just knowing people, being able to tell the story in their travels around town, etc. We'll see how that goes. Outreach has been tricky, mostly due to limited reach in general and a tendency of late to encounter the haunted house that is Greater Vegas ghosting. I think I've talked about this also in this program, but maybe not as much. In the sense of civic volunteers returning or suddenly disappearing, they do tend to suddenly disappear. This is not a uniquely Vegas problem, but Vegas is particularly good at it. So in other words, not a lot of response, even via direct email outreach. So it's not just a LinkedIn problem, it's a general sort of what is this? How do I want to be involved or not? I will not mention anything about not wanting to be involved and so on. Not quite as bad as the follow and forget situation with the LinkedIn page, but troubling nonetheless. This is a thing that others mention as well. So this is not a problem unique to me or the people I reach out to, nor is it a problem unique to the Innovate for Vegas Foundation, nor is it a problem unique to nonprofits in the Greater Vegas area. Honestly, I think it's a cultural, we are a very show me what you got culture, what's in it for me. and so on. And it's just the nature of the thing. We need to show more. We need to invite people to participate in this. And then those people might say, oh, yes, I've heard about this. Not, oh, you're still working on it? With the pinky out. I don't know. A newsletter is not a magic wand by any means. It will not magically attract interest or replies, nor replies. Who taught me this grammar, English, whole thing? It will not magically attract interest nor replies, but with any luck, we will potentially reach a few more people. The posting format, the river of news, the most recent top, and and then the fact that nobody is seeing it will be hopefully addressed by actual email, and then whoever decides to actually take the newsletter. I'm honestly not exactly sure. It sounds like anyone who's following a page will at least be notified that a new newsletter has launched. So we'll see how that goes. Frankly, I don't have a lot of, there's no love lost on LinkedIn. But with any luck, we will potentially reach a few more people with this a little bit more information-rich format, or maybe a combination of the upcoming City Camp event in September, and then the Smarter Smart City Challenge, and then our general community elevation activities. All of this will spark an aha or lean-in moment for one or two people, maybe two. And that would be great. And maybe they'll consider joining our board of directors as volunteers. I don't know if that's off-putting to people. You mean there's no money in it for me? You have to think of it as a non-financial reward. The newsletter itself. We will aim for a weekly newsletter published on Wednesdays, as I mentioned, with a link for the Innovate for Vegas newsletter, with a link to the week's audio program, of course, the one I'm recording right now, for example, and any news and announcements that are relevant to our various activities, initiatives, progress, and whatever else comes up. We will also have a separate, for example, when we launch Mastodon.Vegas for a new ActivityPub-based social network platform, that would make it in the newsletter. Why post about it on our LinkedIn page, which nobody will see? So we'll see how the LinkedIn newsletter is at announcing such things. And of course, we'll still maintain our external webpage. And ideally, we will move to a place where there is no need to rely on LinkedIn, which is a siloed community of sorts. There should be no, you must sign up to see this, etc. Interacting, what? Now, commenting on things, usually there's a sign up or a sign in or whatever, but we'll get there. We will also have that separate newsletter for the Smart City Vegas page for the Smarter Smart City Challenge and now the City Camp. So one newsletter will encompass both the recently added City Camp Las Vegas 2026 event and the Smarter Smart City Challenge coming up in and through all of 2027. So while there will obviously be some cross references between the two, Innovate for Vegas and Smart City Vegas, the Foundation newsletter will be more generic in that regard. And I should point out also, it's not totally clear to me that people understand that the Smart City Vegas page is not a company trying to make smart city products or services or anything like this. So I think it's a question, like Innovate for Vegas Foundation has foundation in it. So hopefully people will kind of get like a little hint. Oh, that's probably a charity of some sort. Oh, look, it is. The Smart City Vegas program, what we're trying to accomplish, is facilitated by, we're primarily the prime facilitator, and we are also the fiscal sponsor of both the Smarter Smart City Challenge and now the City Camp Las Vegas event. So it is a charity also, maybe not immediately obvious. So I think there's a slight bit of reticence to, oh, look, another thing. But it's actually a part of what we're trying to accomplish. So hopefully the newsletter, we can have a little bit more space to make that clear. Once the newsletter publishing commences, we will move away from posting on the LinkedIn page itself, or pages, as the case may be, given the lack of interest and engagement. An occasional update, perhaps, sort of a trailing edge. Oh, this happened. Like certainly not announcing upcoming things on the LinkedIn page. Nobody sees them. If there is something noteworthy to add as a static milestone marker, perhaps, surely when City Camp is about to take place, sure. When it did take place and the outcomes, of course, both LinkedIn page and newsletter. But for the most part, we will lean on the longer form newsletters and see where that leads. And of course, we really would like to see more in-person engagement or more online meetup and conversation rather than these passive aggressive LinkedIn posts. Maybe the problem is I don't do the selfie posts. Maybe we need to have more selfies. That seems to be the trend on LinkedIn. I mean, Instagram or LinkedIn, one of those. Now, now I myself, oh, pardon me, hang on. I gotta get some water there. I myself have visited the newsletters of others and have found that they can be more informative because of the longer, like you have more freedom to present more information, maybe in a more cogent way, rather than the magical formula of LinkedIn posts on pages or on your own personal profile. The hook, got to have an image, got to have a hook, one sentence, and then a 2 or 3 sentence paragraph, and you got to have the whatever. I myself have, though, visited other newsletters. They can be hit or miss. They can be informative, but also hit or miss when it comes to engagement. So even though the newsletter itself is interesting, people don't respond because you can then respond in the LinkedIn universe. You can comment, you can react and all that stuff. But the newsletter itself comes to you and you can read the whole thing without dealing with the hooks and the clicking on more, etc. So these are the newsletters from others. They're often well-known individuals or organizations. So it's not just some random little charity in Vegas or something silly like that. So this may be the state of affairs on the platform. Sort of read and don't engage. Maybe we shall see. Our newsletter content for the Innovate for Vegas Foundation will include some items that will appear on one or both of our websites. So the .org and .foundation, remember I mentioned them at the top of the show in the links section, wrapped with appropriate newsletter-oriented items, such as reminders where our LinkedIn page can be found in case somebody wants to forward an email or such things. So this is a request that people share the newsletter with others who may be interested and so on. Over time, the newsletter itself will likely lag behind a bit of our current state of affairs. If we can get over or through the Civic Volunteer Winter, hopefully we'll have a little bit more going on our day-to-day. And if we assume that progress and activity will take some priority over newsletter updating, well, so be it. The newsletter experiment may not prove valuable and could wither as well. We will find that out together. We'll find that out together. Thing like that. So here we go. If you listen to the end of these episodes, that's where we are. Final section 3. I do sections with 3 bullet items. Rule of 3 from comedy. So if you do reach the end or make it to the end of these episodes, as in this one, thanks. If you do take the newsletter on LinkedIn, once we get that launched tomorrow, it would be great if you could engage in some way now and then with a reaction, a like or a celebrate or insightful or something, or a comment perhaps. If you can pass along the existence of this newsletter to your LinkedIn network or to others in general, that would be great as well. Now we will eventually, if this does prove to be useful, we'll probably launch our own newsletter externally, so you won't have to be affiliated with LinkedIn or our page or anything like that. We'll just have an external newsletter as part of our general information sharing strategy, which is 2 of our initiatives. We are not, for city scale information sharing, we are not limiting our efforts to reach out to the greater Vegas area alone. Ideally, our reach will exceed our grasp, as it always should. But as I mentioned, 2 of our board members have always been from beyond Vegas, California, usually. So having people that are familiar with other places is part of one of our focal areas is engaging with other civic volunteer organizations beyond Nevada, especially now that the Hack for Reno organization seems to have shut down. So not only working within Nevada, but between Nevada and other places, reaching out far and wide should be on our agenda. With Vegas receiving so many tourists annually, visitors, some are tourists, some are not, some are doing other things. But we do receive a lot of visitation to this area. It's a great way to reach out and engage with people from other places, and something that people in other places could do as well. So it kind of makes the greater Vegas area an interesting platform for trying out ideas with other people. If Greater Vegas is to be an innovation hub of any sort, and surely it already is, it is important that we stir the innovation particles up now and then. The City Camp and Smarter Smart City Challenge, I sometimes just refer to it as the challenge, are 2 examples how to do this at scale across our locality, but this is not intended to take away from our ongoing efforts to convince our local innovators that directing innovation energies inward into our locality and our various communities and its various challenges, or their various challenges, is a good way to spend some time and is a great way to learn and maybe teach now and then. So this is one reason also to separate the Smart City Vegas efforts, that's the challenge, and the city camp and anything along those lines. Those are, like I said, one and done. That's kind of a glib way of saying it. But those have no long story arc. They're not intended to be long life products or services or whatever we're developing, whatever our initiatives encompass. So these could be driven by, there can be more learning experiences and much more practical, but of smaller and more focused scope, for example. So they're kind of different takes, but innovation can take many forms. So that's fine. I will end this episode. This is the final point. I will end this episode with our official purpose statement. I did promise that at the top of the show. And this is on file with the, I was going to say which is on file. This purpose statement is on file with all the authorities. When you form a Nevada nonprofit, I can't remember if it's box 4. It's been a while. But you do include your purpose statement on the document. And I think the IRS wants that also on the 1023. We filed the 1023-EZ, by the way, if you're curious, but we are about to enter our 5th year, so we're official for real. Our purpose is precisely to enable and encourage ideation, innovation, and implementation to make our communities better. Just vague enough to be all-encompassing, but also still implying that we are working towards community elevation driven by people sharing ideas and coming up with creative solutions and then making them happen. There's nothing about code in there. Innovation can take the form of code, but it doesn't have to. Anyone can do it, and everybody should give it a try. Why doesn't somebody fix that? Could easily become, we can fix that. And then we go from there. But first they need to know any of this is a possibility. So maybe you can lend a hand and get the word out. And we'll hope that the newsletter can help us accomplish that. Certainly this audio program is a part of that. We will expand our website a little bit, and then we'll have some other web properties, the information sharing platform. Ideally, if that works, will be a nice step up, and we'll go from there. Hey, if Vegas is going to be a global innovation hub eventually, these probably figure in people who are aware, who are interested and engaged, and are empowered. They're enabled and encouraged to participate in local innovation in any form. That's how that works. Not everything is AI, but everything is us. Take care. Thank you for listening as always. Watch out for that newsletter and tell a friend or two. Thanks.